1967, the Reading Phillies' inaugural season. Despite leading the Eastern League in attendance that year, no R-Phil's game came close to packing Reading's Municipal Memorial Stadium like a high school football game did that fall. It was Wilson versus Muhlenberg, in what may still be the most well-attended high school game in Berks County history.
When we came out to warm up, every seat in this place was filled. When we came out to start the game, not only were every seat filled, but also the entire outfield was just packed with people.
I was at the one game in 1967 between Wilson and Muhlenberg. I was only in 9th grade, but I remember very clearly I stood all the way in the very top behind home plate. That was where my standing room only, and that's where I stood for that whole game.
The Bulldogs and Mules both entered that chilly October night with 7-0 records, and an estimated 12,000 fans packed the ballpark to catch the action.
Up until halftime was a very good football game, and then Bill Walyoung, who was a very, very good linebacker from Muhlenberg, got a concussion right at the end of the first half, and then the second half. In fact, I think it was only one touchdown difference at halftime. In the second half, Wilson ran all over him.
It was an unbelievably neat setting. The bad news was Wilson beat us, and that's the way it goes.
Wilson prevailed 40-14 and would go on to record the county's first perfect 10-0 record that season. It was one of many memorable football games played at Municipal Stadium from 1951 through 1982, when the Diamond turned Gridiron was the place to be on fall weekends.
I did some homework last night and looked up in my yearbooks, and it proves that there was a lot of fan base, a lot more than you see at today's games. The bleachers were packed.
You know, you didn't have other sports and there was no competition. People didn't have things to do on a Friday night, and people went to football games. I remember when I was in 8th grade, Muhlenberg didn't do well at all, but yet every seat was packed home and away, and that's just the way it was, the same way at Wilson. And Reading also, Reading just would pack the place.
They had a Thursday night game, they had a Friday night game, they had a Saturday afternoon, and they had a Saturday night game. They were playing 4 games a week, and then the other games were played at Albright, and it was just juggling the stadiums. So everybody, almost everybody, was playing either at Albright or Municipal Stadium, and it just made it a little bit bigger. I mean, you know, your high school stadium probably sat 500. You know, you went out to Municipal Stadium that sat 10,000.
Of course, playing football on a field designed for baseball made for a unique experience.
You're walking out onto a field where, you know, pro baseball players are playing, and it was just kind of a neat thing. The visitor stands in center field was kind of unique. That's like, wow, you don't expect to see stands in the middle of a baseball field turned into a football field.
The stadium was laid out so the end zone, the one end zone was the first baseline, and then the other end zone was out towards left field. What is now the third baseline would have been the home bleachers. Most of the games, people didn't sit behind home plate because that would have been down in the corner of the end zone. So they had bleachers, as I said, set up along the visitor side, which would be running from the first baseline out towards center field, and then the other bleachers were where the home bleachers are now. Well,
I remember distinctly that if you were driving the ball down this way, you ran into the infield, which was flat, but it was dirt, but as kids, it didn't bother us a bit.
You're trying to stay clean and keep your hands clean, especially your mouthpiece. So we always used to joke with each other that if you're going to drop your mouthpiece, you do not want to do it in the infield.
I don't think they quite had the same kind of diamond techs or whatever they use now, but it was like playing in a sand pit. I remember very clearly playing there many times in the rain where you would sink in your ankles up to probably your ankle depth. You couldn't see your shoes, and you know, it was a very interesting fiasco when you got into, and that was from about maybe the 25-yard line in, the whole one half of the football field. So that wasn't fun, all right? Well, it was fun if you were winning and you could play in the mud, but you know, it wasn't fun in a close game trying to slog through that. By the end of the game, your shoes weighed like 20 pounds because the mud, you know, just caked on them.
Even more unforgettable than the playing surface was the big-time feel of the stadium.
It was just, you know, a neat atmosphere to play, big. You felt like you were going to a big arena.
It was just, you know, kind of an electric thing for a young kid like me who, you know, I only played pickup at the playground. To come out and actually play in a big stadium like this was a big deal.
The locker room atmosphere was just unbelievably neat, because what would happen is we'd come out and warm up, then pregame while we were in the locker room, the band would come marching through. So you can imagine the racket that made when they came playing as loud as they could, coming through you know, that enclosed area, and it was very, very motivating.
The whole stadium where we changed and everything was solid concrete or steel, so there were no acoustics. So when the band was out there playing and it was like a tunnel where it went in, it's not a whole, well, it's different, but you know, it's still laid out similar, and it was just, it was loud. It was very loud.
In 2018, football returns to FirstEnergy Stadium for the first time in 36 years, hosting a series of 9 games over 3 weekends in September and October, which is sure to create lifelong memories for a new generation of football players and rekindle tales of old from those who return to their old stomping grounds.
Oh, this is really neat, because then I can give the kids all the war stories, and you know, they can look at me like I'm crazy, but I'll do it anyway, and it's a lot of fun.
Kerry Seattle spoke to me a couple Saturdays ago doing a JV game out in Muhlenberg on a Saturday morning, and he pitched the idea to me just to see what our response was going to be, and I really thought it was neat to be able to come back here again. So I got a hold of Joe Callagher, who is our referee on our officiating crew, and we started putting together a list of people that we knew had played here before.
To be able to actually work a game here, that's really exciting to me. And I've worked games all over the place, but to actually come back to your home field, so to speak, that's I think that's really special.
With districts and playoffs, we played in big stadiums, but this is going to be different because the Jumbotron in center field, the way they're going to be showing instant replays from what I understand. So it's going to give them a big college, atmosphere, I think, with, that ability.
I think it's a great idea to bring some games back here. I think it's good for Berks County.
The Baseballtown Gridiron Classic kicks off with Muhlenberg against Exeter on Thursday, September 20th, and includes 7 high school games plus a Division III college game featuring Alvernia and Wilkes. For more information on the Baseballtown Gridiron Classic, log on to Fightin.com/football.